Anyway, we're going to be talking about real money, or is Bitcoin real money, and why. I'm high on it. Anthony's high on it. So I'll just go let you know I'm not an FNG, an FNU guy. This whole thing. So this is how I started realizing that money was fake today. And so this here is a 1964 Kennedy half dollar. This was the last real silver. So this was done in 1964. 1964, I was like 18 years old or 17 years old. And I'm looking at this damn thing, and there used to be silver, but from 65 or whatever, around that time, they started doing copper. And I went, what's wrong with my money? You know, it's no longer silver, it's copper. And when I didn't know at the time, because as a kid and we didn't know anything about this stuff, what the U.S. government was doing was violating Gresham's law. And Gresham's law states when bad money enters the environment, good money goes to hiding. So this here is the last real silver, 1964. I want to thank my friends, Jim Clark from Republic Monetary Exchange here in Phoenix. I buy lots of gold and silver from him. But basically, Anthony, what I do a lot of the times is I go up there and I hold this $10 bill, and I hold this, and I say, which one do you want? And naturally, they say 50 cents, and they see $10, and they jump on it. They'll take the 10, where this is more valuable than this. But it just proves that people don't know what money is. And so that was the start. It was 1964. And ever since then, I've been studying it. Then I read this guy here, Buckminster Fuller, and his Grunch of Giants. And Grunch of Giants, I don't recommend this book, but Fuller was a tough read. And I studied with him for 3 years. And he is the one who predicted Bitcoin. Years and years and years ago, 20-something years ago, he said there would be a new type of money coming out. But the reason Fuller was a futurist. And he saw these kids playing electronic games. And he says, that's the future of money. So here I am thinking that guy's a whack job. You know, it's a 30, 20, I don't know how long ago now, but he says, money's going to be electronic? And so I'm listening to this guy Fuller, you know, I'm going, holy moly. But then, because of this fake money here, the fake silver, and this, I began my study. And this here is the creature from Jekyll Island. You can see I do study, not that of a Marine. But this is about the Federal Reserve Bank. And then here is this book here. It's about Zimbabwe. I was in Zimbabwe when Zimbabwe crashed. I was in Vietnam looking for gold. I'm always in the wrong place at the right time. But I was in Zimbabwe when Zimbabwe crashed. And that's when the war vets, the black guys, went through all the farms across Zimbabwe, and kicked the white farmers off. And I'm sitting in this truck, Anthony, with I shoot a double gun, you know, elephant gun. I got a 2-shot rifle, and these guys are carrying AK-47s. I said, I better keep my mouth shut. You know? Plus, there was about 10 of them and one of me. And they came up to this little tiny white woman. She was an Africana, and her husband. And they put the guns to their head and said, either get off this property or you're dead. And so I'm sitting there watching this stuff. I feel like a pussy because I can't shoot them with my double gun because there's too many of them. And the little woman turns to me and she says, burn this place down. So Anthony, I was back in Vietnam. We took torches, we torched her farm. The biggest fireball came off when he hit the diesel fuel. The grass shacks went up, their ranch house for 400 years went down. But that's what happens when money destroys nations. This is written by a friend of mine, Philip Haslam.
Renowned author Robert Kiyosaki has sent waves of anticipation across the financial seas with a very bold prediction about the biggest stock market crash in history being on the horizon. As the stock giants stumble, a new king is poised to rise, and it's none other than Bitcoin. But why does Kiyosaki predict such a spectacular ascent?
Cryptocurrencies I just get obsessed about an idea, and I want to learn as much as I possibly can. And the best way to do that, especially for a new technology, is to go talk to people. There's not a lot of books written. There's not as much kind of information on the internet. There's not YouTube videos. And so that's what I started to do. And so 8-9 years ago, I just began finding anyone and everyone who would come and talk to me and explain how they viewed it. And what I found over time was there was a couple of core beliefs that people had. One was that the existing money was not good. We were going to continue to have to debase the dollar, and people would lose purchasing power. It would hurt a very large portion of the kind of citizenry. The second thing was sound money principles are real and they're valuable. And so kind of being outside a legacy financial system and not having anyone control it so that they can print more of it is pretty valuable. And then the third was actually that Bitcoin was kind of a digital gold. So physical gold and silver obviously have this great kind of track record, and they have these great attributes. Bitcoin was the first attempt that worked. It wasn't the first attempt, but just the first one that worked to take those same sound money principles and put it into a digital environment. And so, I always joke that if Bitcoin wasn't around as I was kind of coming up, then maybe I would just own a bunch of gold. But Bitcoin was there and it was digital, and I started to buy Bitcoin, and so far has worked out pretty well.
Good. So our discussion today is, what is real money? When people say, why Bitcoin? I say, it's not about Bitcoin. It's about how incompetent our leaders are. I call them the three stooges. Joe Biden, president. Powell, the secretary, was he the
chairman of
the Federal Reserve Bank, and Janet Yellen, Treasury, and she was also a Fed chairman. Those are the three stooges, and they're criminals. So I just watch them. America today is the biggest debtor nation in history. And the only way we can save the economy is by printing more money. They just keep pumping more money into the thing. And I think we're at the end of the line. We're pretty close to it, I think. And so that's why I shift. I own gold mines, silver mines. I own tons of gold, but they're still in the ground. And I own Bitcoin, but I came onto Bitcoin a little bit late because I had to test it. So I picked it up at 6,000. So I'm 10 times right now.
It's not bad.
No, it's not bad. It's not big money, but it's 60 times 60,000 is a little bit of money. But anyway, it's because our money is fake. I mean, this here is fake. And every day people get up and go to work for this crap. And then they save it. And then they say live debt free when this is debt. Do you know what I mean? If you put this in your pocket, you put debt in your pocket. You put a UST bill or treasury note in your pocket. I mean, that's how people have no idea what's going on.
The seasoned author, known for leading minds through complex financial landscapes, stands by his assertion made 12 years ago about a market crash of unprecedented magnitude. He lays out a vivid panorama where traditional stocks falter, creating a ripple that displaces billions towards digital and tangible assets like Bitcoin, gold, and silver. Kiyosaki evokes the age-old Gresham's law, echoing a peculiar allegory. When bad money enters a system, good money goes into hiding.
Look, I recently wrote this book called How to Live an Extraordinary Life, and it's got 65 letters to my children. And one of the things that in writing letters to your kids, you have to ask yourself, what matters to you in the world, right? What are the things that you really feel kind of passionate about, or things that you feel like are important? And in there's plenty of lessons about relationships and work and those things, but there's a number of letters about money, and specifically the idea of how do you continue to build wealth. And I think that Bitcoin is the idea of building wealth put somewhat on easy mode. And what I mean by that is, you can go to work, you can get paid, you can spend less than you make, and then you can go into the stock market and try to pick stocks. It's pretty complex. You have to constantly reevaluate your portfolio. You have to look at what companies are working, what companies aren't, keep up with all of their, earnings reports, all that. It's a lot of work to do that. And if you're not doing it full time and a professional, it can be very difficult. Instead, something like Bitcoin simply allows someone to save. They simply get paid, spend less than they make, put that economic value into Bitcoin, and it's a savings technology. And so if you continue to save in a currency that is going to appreciate over time, rather than save in dollars that depreciate, it is kind of this wealth building, on easy mode, not because it necessarily means that Bitcoin is guaranteed to work, but because it means that Bitcoin is a simple strategy that people can just replicate week after week after week. And what we found over time is that is a really, valuable way for people to be able to build wealth. Is just make it dead simple for them to understand what they got to do.
Yeah, exactly what Anthony is saying here. That was this book here, Grunch. Let me give one more thought on this. I was talking to this woman, poor thing. She's got 3 kids, 2 husbands, and she's buying cars for her kids because she's a mom. She's a big-hearted mom. And I said, are you saving any money? She goes, no, I can't afford to. I said, well, that's a discipline problem. So, throw your kids off the dole. But I said, why don't you just buy a Bitcoin? And she goes, why? And I said, if you can afford, like today it's about 60,000. If you can get to 1 Bitcoin or start buying Satoshis or whatever they are, you have a chance. You have a chance to pass it on to your kids. Why would why would the Bitcoin go up in value? That's the question as time went on. And that's today, right? Why would it go up?
I think the biggest reason is the same reason the stocks go up, which is stocks go up because the dollar gets devalued. Bitcoin goes up because the dollar gets devalued. And so if the politicians and the central bankers could somehow figure out a way to stop spending money, they could figure out a way to not devalue the dollar, which seems impossible, then sure, maybe these asset prices wouldn't go up. But I don't want to bet on politicians waking up and figuring out how to be, disciplined monetary capital allocators.
Now, as instability looms, the hiding ceases. Good money manifest in gold, silver, and particularly Bitcoin readies itself to take back its throne. Here, the network effect becomes a protagonist, boosting Bitcoin's value due to its expansive and ever-growing user base.
The reason I got interested in Bitcoin was that there's only 21 million. In other words, that to me, when I looked at that plus blockchain, I said 21 million, the closer we get to 21 million, that was number 1 for me. Number 2, it's Gresham's law is bad money enters the system, good money goes into hiding. But Bitcoin follows Metcalfe's law, the power of networks. So network marketing is a powerful force. Like McDonald's is a network of hamburger stands. Bitcoin is a network and it follows Metcalfe's law, but there's a finite number. So I was trying to explain this to her. There's only 21 million. I think we're about 19.5 million today. And demand is going up. It went right over our head. I didn't know how else to explain it to her. But I said, if you would just take 1 Bitcoin, you could pass you could pass it on to your kids. What do you say about that?
I think there's a lot of people, that's their goal, right? I always point to other cultural kind of norms or societies. In India, as an example, people buy a bunch of gold and they pass it on generation to generation. And if you're the child who inherits gold and sells it, you're not so popular in the family. When holidays come around, you probably don't want to show up. And so I do think that, it's not just a Bitcoin thing. This is a sound money thing. And now Bitcoin is just a digital sound money. And so there's going to be families where they pass the family Bitcoin down over, year after year after year. And if you're the kid who sells the Bitcoin, you're not going to be so popular. You're not going to be, invited with a smile to, Christmas or Thanksgiving. And so hopefully that education will help people not, sell the Bitcoin.
It's not just about weathering through Kiyosaki's predicted crash. It's an invitation to partake in what he and others see as a transformative journey into a future where digital currencies rise, with Bitcoin's valuation forecasted by Kiyosaki to reach imposing heights of 300,000. The narrative is compelling. Do you see Bitcoin as the beacon amidst the looming storm? Don't forget to like and subscribe, and let's keep this bull run going.